regardless of my feelings towards 2001: A Space Odyssey, most of those feelings being negative, um, yeah, 2001 was still a big movie back in the day, and people still call it a classic, in science fiction, and one of the greatest movies ever made. Personally, I don't, but you know, it has a following. I can acknowledge that at least. So, yeah, back in the 20th century, it's not like if a movie got so big of a phenomenon that, it's like 1 year or 2 years or 3 years later, a sequel comes out. Because it's like, it's not like, like in 1968 you get 2001, but in like 1970 or 1971 or 69 or whatever, that you would get 2001 Part 2. No, they took their time with, they take their time with it here, with a movie like this, like 2001. So 16 years later, in 1984, they released 2010, The Year We Make Contact. Now, yeah, this is the 2010 is going to be the movie that will be in discussion in this video, based on the title of this video. So, yeah, there's pretty much people out there who are curious who might be curious about what I think about this film in particular. Considering how I wasn't really much of a fan of 2001, you figured, he's probably not going to like this one either. You might be surprised. Let's take a look at 2010. So 2010, of course, is the sequel to 2001. Takes place 9 years later after the events of the first movie. And you pretty much had the former director of the space committee that commissioned the mission from 2001, where it then involved the monolith and HAL 9000 and one of the crew members turning into a space fetus and disappearing from all of mankind. You pretty much had the director of that committee, was at the time, played by Roy Scheider, as he's brought back into the space exploration business. But this time it's pretty much a collaboration between the United States and the Soviet Union. Two unlikely, allies of coincidence. Or not convenience. Allies of convenience, pretty much. Allies of coincidence. That's funny. So yeah, Roy Scheider is going with them to figure out what happened to the crew that he sent up there, because he feels like he killed them and he wants to find the answers. But of course, as we see in 2001, there's something. The monolith is a very mysterious thing, and as they get to the spaceship that was in the first movie, they with HAL 9000, there may be a little bit of tension going on. So yeah, that's pretty much basically just the basic rundown of the plot. As opposed to 2001's, I don't even know what to really call it, structure, plot structure perhaps. You can tell what's a first act, what's a second act, and what's a third act, but really when you get down to it, it's not really much in the way of story characters, but in my opinion. But 2010, I was actually surprised with this one. I actually didn't think this one was all that bad. I thought 2010 was it was okay. I liked it. Now here's the thing. I don't think it's a great film by any means. I mean, it's certainly not one that I'm gonna remember years down the line. But as sort of a chance to look at it, I figured, what? In comparison to the first one, this is better, because people could probably say, well, the abstractness of 2001, or the fact that it's up to interpretation made that film so much more timeless. It's maybe that's the case, but honestly, that film just kind of, the way that film did it with the whole up to interpretation aspects, I just didn't think it did it very well. Honestly, it didn't work for me. But here, it's I got an idea of more of an idea of what's going on here, and the film gives me some more new information, and it gave me more, than what the first movie gave me. Um, as far as characters are concerned, whereas 2001 just had like boring, just dull characters, human characters with a robot like HAL 9000 being like the one shining grace in the whole character cast of that movie. Here, the characters, I can recognize the human characters. HAL 9000 is in this, but he's not the only character in this that I actually don't remember or even care about. Roy Scheider, I like him. He's pretty much a much more like he's up like he pretty much kind of has like a little guilty about letting his crew sending it up there and not being able to do much about it. Like, he feels like he killed those guys up there when, I mean, he didn't, but he feels like he indirectly killed them, and he feels guilty, so he goes up there. That's interesting. That's character. That's a character arc, perhaps. And even HAL 9000 comes back in this, and you pretty much get more of him, just sort of like, still dealing with, the whole thing of, like, trust and all that, and him just being, a little paranoid about the mission. It's like, this movie definitely has more going for it as far as, character and story arcs. And I recognize some of the people. Roy Scheider's the main character, and who's way more interesting than whoever that main character was. Like the guy that was named David from the first movie. Who remembers that character, honestly? Really. Which, by the way, he's in this movie too. Although not really for much of a purpose, perhaps. I don't think. It just seemed like he was just there because, hey, fan service, or hey, he was from the first movie, so got tie this one in with that. But I'm sure that the actor who played the main dude from the first movie, who's now like a space god, whatever, in this one, I don't know what they did. I mean, I'm sure that the actor who did it was probably much older than when he did in 2001. But let me just say, like, the makeup on it was just outstanding. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't really that much older. Like 16 years down the road. I mean, the makeup work is pretty much just outstanding in this. It's like that's great. Like, I mean, his character doesn't have much of a purpose, but the makeup. But I still applaud the makeup. I don't know, by the way, when he's like older and all that, and I think he might have they tried making him look younger, and it didn't look like it was CG, so definitely not CG, because otherwise we would tell, but yeah, the makeup was great. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about here, but okay, I hope somebody does, I don't know, I hope that was a legitimate point there, but anyways. Moving on. So yeah, I cared more about what was going on, but the thing is, at the end of the day, it's not like it's a movie that I'm gonna remember. Perhaps like the character arcs are pretty much are decent, but not. I mean, not great, but it's just like, wow, okay, that's neat. And the movie. I mean, like, it's not really the best at it, but it's like whatever. It was. Compared to 2001, which has barely any character or story development, this one actually has a lot more going for it. At least in comparison. I'm sure, like, on its own, they don't really hold much weight. But in comparison, I was like, oh wow, this is much better. But even so, even on its own, they're pretty much serviceable. And that's pretty much what this movie was. It was just serviceable. Like, it pretty much had ideas to talk about, for you to, think about, perhaps, if you're one of the thinkers. If you pretty much somebody who was disappointed about how little 2001 explained, this movie will pretty much, hopefully, will fill in some more of the gaps for you. I mean, maybe not all of them, but, just enough to make you feel like, okay, I didn't regret watching this. And plus, the movie does have like a little bit of a problem in the way of pacing and all that, and that's pretty much a technical term for that. The movie can get pretty boring at points. Like it's a pretty slow movie. Like, it's a slow movie like the first movie, but at least in here we actually have like character exchanges and interactions, and plot moving forward, story moving forward, rather than stuff floating in space while we just have like some classical music in the background. So yeah. But yeah, 2010, the year we made contact, it's not the best movie of its kind, I don't think, not by a long shot, but compared to 2001, I definitely like this one more, pretty much, because wow, it actually but I just feel like I gained more than what I got taken away, perhaps. So yeah, I definitely didn't regret watching 2010. Not great, but not bad either. So yeah, there it is. So overall, 2010, the year we made contact, is, like I said, it's by no means a great science fiction movie, but for what it is, it's not bad. It's actually, it's definitely a superior sequel to a rather inferior first movie. In my opinion, at least. I know a lot of people say that that 2001's better, but I'm sorry, I just can't agree. So yeah, that movie was just a bore, and this movie. This movie's slow, but it was mostly for the right reasons, perhaps. Mostly. So, yeah, I'm gonna say, this is not a movie that's gonna be for everybody, but I do recommend this movie. If you recommend you check it out, even if it's just a standalone, even if it is just a standalone movie, you can watch it as standalone, you'll enjoy just fine, I guess. So, I'm gonna give it 3 stars out of 5. It's a solid 3 stars out of 5. So, what do you guys think of 2010, the year we made contact? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Or what do you prefer more, 2001 or 2010? Let me know in the comments below. Put a like in this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. But until my next video, I will see you guys later. Take care.